Madalia Maliki, a defense attorney with Richards Carrington. Welcome on the Business Brief.
Thank you so much for having me, Ryan. It's a pleasure to be here.
Good to have you. Madalia, you work for a leading litigation firm. I'm hearing there are mounting cases by the Department of Justice and other federal agencies concerning Paycheck Protection Program, PPP fraud. According to the folks over at the Project on Government Oversight, there's over 189 billion in questionable PPP loans, not all of which may be fraudulent, but clearly indicating there may have been substantial abuse of the system and inadequate controls by the federal government. What insights can you share? And who is the Department of Justice and other federal agencies exactly targeting?
So that's a great question. I think the thing to keep in mind is with this amount of money up for grabs, with limited, restrictions and oversight, and the eligibility requirements being pretty easy to meet, it was a prime target for fraud out the gate. And when we're looking between organizations like the Treasury versus the DOJ, there's different things that they're looking for. So the Treasury, for example, are doing $2 million or more, are kind of that red flag to audit, whereas the DOJ is going after any and everybody, whether you're an individual or a smaller company, a larger one. And I think they have to take that aggressive approach at this point, given the vast amount of fraud. And so I think it's keeping in mind, just that gray area and whether you're going to be prosecuted criminally or if there's going to be some kind of civil repercussions for engaging in fraud.
Very interesting. With over 18 million Paycheck Protection Program loans and pandemic-related economic injury disaster loans and advanced grants approved over the last year, combined, by the way, to exceed over $950 billion. These programs have been crucial to our economic stabilization as a country, as well as a linchpin for our recovery going forward. A lot of organizations will be seeking PPP loan forgiveness that is allowed for things like payroll and retention of employees, rent, etc., which also requires certification of compliance. Tell us more about that and what pitfalls should businesses and organizations avoid?
I think a lot of it, Ryan, is going to be that kind of common sense approach. If you are asking for a loan that you're saying is going to go towards your company and your expenses, don't be that guy that's buying a Lamborghini and not paying your employees. I think that's going to really cause a commotion. But more importantly, just making sure your finances are in order. If you are going to make those types of certifications, it should not be a guessing game. And so if you do have CEOs or accountants or financial professionals, really leaning in and trusting those people to make sure that if you are going to apply for that loan and certify that to get that loan forgiveness, that you're going about it the right way.
Dot those I's and cross those T's. I hear you, Madalia. Now, the Justice Department has brought criminal charges against at least 209 individuals in 119 cases across the country related to the Paycheck Protection Program. The April Project on Government Oversight report goes on to indicate law enforcement insiders are saying many more pandemic loan fraud cases will be brought forth in the months and years ahead. You've noted to me that PPP fraud can be both intentional and unintentional. First, what steps can people take to verify they've operated within the law and ethical guardrails?
A couple pointers. I would say the first thing is reviewing that good faith certification and making sure that it's up to par is crucial. I think having your pre-application finances in order in a place that is organized, clear and concise about what the status of your organization or company was before COVID hit is crucial. If somebody comes back and asks you for those receipts, whether it's the SBA or the DOJ, having that information on hand is extremely important. One other thing that might be beneficial in terms of avoiding, impropriety or looking like you're double dipping in terms of the tax front is a lot of organizations are setting up a separate bank account just for that PPP loan to go into. And that way, if you have expenses that are necessary or stemming from that need for the loan, you can withdraw and show documentation that the money is coming from that account only, and you're not commingling the finances. And so, if you're doing measures like that, that might be able to help. And also avoiding fraudsters. There's a lot of people proactively contacting small businesses and saying, hey, give me your sensitive information. And so just making sure that you're smart about who you're giving information to and where you're getting that loan money from.
Yeah, and I gotta ask, because I believe there's a lot of folks that are probably or will probably be thinking about how can small businesses and individuals who are owners out there who've taken advantage of this PPP money protect themselves should they be subjected to a fraud investigation?
If you're at the point where you're being investigated or there are charges pending against you, the most important thing you can do is not sit back and hope that the DOJ is going to go away, because that's not going to be the case. I think hiring federal defense counsel immediately to be, your guidance through the process is really important. And also taking a proactive approach. I think a lot of these agencies, if you can establish that you're not engaging in fraud, that you have the documentation to support that, and you approach them with that, with the advice of counsel, of course, I think that's going to go a long way to either make it so you're not being charged with anything, or to show that you didn't have that intent, which may convert it to a civil situation. But I think the more you can do to protect yourself on the upfront end rather than having to be on the defensive is a good strategy to take.
It's going to be so fascinating to see how this all takes shape and develops in the months and years ahead. So important for people, as you say, to not only be proactive, but if they need it, seek appropriate counsel. Madalia Maliki with Richards Carrington, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.